Hi, my name is Tanisha Simpkins. I want to invite you to tune in to the Table Talk radio show, where we'll be having candid conversations about politics, education, fashion, reality shows, what's trending, and more. I want to hear what you have to say. No subjects are off limits. Grab your coffee and tea and let's talk. I'm your host, Tanisha Simpkins.
Hello everybody, this is Pastor George Rich and this is the Table Talk Radio. This is our forum for candid conversations where we discuss the issues from politics to religion. I have my guest co-host here, Lawanda Jones. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Pastor Rich. Thank you. And hello, Table Talk audience. Looking forward to having some conversation with you today about what's going on in our area and in our city.
Good. Well, let's jump right into it. What's happening in the news here in South Florida? The first issue that we want to talk about is this new homeless law that our good friend Mayor Jack Saylor has passed. This is a law that makes it illegal for public food sharing in the downtown and the beach of the city of Fort Lauderdale. It made headlines on last week because there was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Abbott, who is a 90-year-old man who has pretty much spent the last 25 years of his life feeding and serving the homeless population here in Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
So he went to go feed, and he was given citations. And the citations were that you can no longer feed publicly here in the city of Fort Lauderdale. What are your thoughts?
Well, I can tell you this, that first of all, Pastor Rich, that law has literally swept this nation. It has become an international firestorm and a public relations nightmare for the city of Fort Lauderdale. So we understand that while the mayor was trying to do a good thing, we are confident that he simply just executed it incorrectly. And unfortunately, the backfire from that is going to be felt for quite some time.
Now, I heard, because I'm nosy like that. So so I called the clerk's office of the city of Fort Lauderdale, and I was told that the law was first read at a city council meeting at around 2 a.m. Then it was passed on October 21st at 3:30 a.m. Now, to me, I don't want to start a conspiracy, but it sounds like they purposely did it so that the public couldn't give their outcry.
I believe that because I think that if you really look at it from a public point of view, that the city should have known, even if they proclaimed that they did not know. Right. They should have known that this would cause a public outcry.
Certainly.
And I believe that by them doing it kind of under the cloak of darkness, that when it came to the light, that the firestorm that they got is exactly what they deserve. It's an unfortunate situation, but we understand that sometimes those meetings go well into the night, and our city is trying to make sure that they take care of everything before they go home or they close session for that evening. But in this case, there should have been quite a bit of public opinion. There should have been public forum to find out exactly how the people felt. I can tell you, as a active participant in my local church, I have been to Stranahan Park, and we have actually done feedings in that park.
Okay.
And so I know that there is a tremendous need in that particular area. So because that is such a well-known place for where the homeless are at, where we can actually go and connect with the homeless, I think that it would have been advantageous for the city to at least invite the churches and or the general public to come out and to take an opportunity to hear from us what it is that we can do to also be able to fulfill the needs of the homeless and also be able to meet the needs of the local churches and those that are interested in assisting in any way that we can with that particular epidemic.
So this law says that if you want to feed the homeless here,
Uh-huh.
you have to have at least somebody who's quote unquote certified, like a certified food manager.
Correct.
And secondly, you got to have porta potties.
Absolutely. And I get it. I get it. Because, again, having been to Stranahan Park, having been into the area, first and foremost, we have to understand that the city is looking at it from an economic standpoint of view.
Okay.
We are right in the heart of the downtown area. That's where this park is located at. And so the city is looking at it from an economic standpoint because it does create what you would consider an eyesore when you have hundreds of homeless people with their goods, with their bags, with their things laying around. And keep in mind, before this ordinance actually came into place, they actually passed an ordinance where the police department was able to confiscate anything that was left over a 24-hour period.
Wow.
So keep in mind, now the homeless people are having their sleeping bags taken. They're having their cardboard boxes that they're using just for some type of buffer taken away from them if it is in place longer than 24 hours. So the purpose of this really was to shuffle the homeless people away from
out of the
this
city.
particular area. Absolutely. And this is not the first time that we have seen this type of behavior in large metropolitan cities. For years, there have been a push to move, because for whatever reason, you see that there are a lot of areas that are surrounding your metro money areas in your cities that have more impoverished areas that are right on the outskirts of those areas. So what do? We started building low-income housing in the outer skirts. We started putting it out in the suburbs where it was away from the central part of the actual place where the businesses is being conducted. This is very much a similar strategy in order to rid that particular what they consider a problem, but they just implemented it incorrectly.
Very much so.
So had they done it a little bit better, then we may be able to have, or had they been able to provide something in order for us to still serve that underprivileged population,
correct,
I think that we would have been better served.
You know what? I totally agree with that. I think that the city should find a place or provide a set location. And honestly, I think it should be city owned.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
This is the place where we feed the homeless.
Absolutely.
Then you can, sorry to use this word, shuffle the problem over to a set location.
Absolutely. And then you'll have the ability to offer additional services to those individuals.
Yes.
Part of the ordinance's desire was because they believe that we don't want to just feed the homeless people, but that we want them to eventually get off of the street. Yeah, absolutely. But I remember having a conversation with a good friend of mine who actually serves in the homeless community. And one of the things that he said to me was that some homeless people actually just want to be homeless. Because believe it or not, they know where to go to get a hot meal. They know where to get a good sandwich. They know who's going to give them clothes. They know where they can go and get a free bus pass for. And so, there are some people that really just have no interest in actually being off of the streets. When we were there feeding on one particular Saturday afternoon, I found it to be very difficult because we were literally chasing the people and trying to give them food. They have so many options there, and you would think that
options because different groups are coming out.
Different groups are coming out, and when we moved, there was another vehicle that was right behind us that was literally on our footsteps. And so we literally, and meanwhile, we're trying to pass out our food and our toiletries and be good Christian representatives of the love of God and extended, but we are being bombarded because there are other groups that are literally right behind us. And unfortunately, in this particular area, because that's where we go, the homeless people have options, and they sit and they wait. And so, when we were there, they were engaged in a spirited game of football. And they were paying us little or no attention.
Wow.
And we were really working hard in order to do our food distribution there. And to the point where it was just like, well, my goodness. So I understand the city's perspective because they see so many groups doing so much good for an underserved population. But then again, we don't want to give them food. We just don't want to give them food. We want to give them more services.
Good. Well, if you want to follow this story, I would suggest that you go to the City of Fort Lauderdale's Facebook page. It is the City of Fort Lauderdale News. Next something that's going on with the news is Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry has a stalker, y'all.
Yes, Mike.
this was kind of funny, but then it could definitely have been a serious thing. He had someone who was once an employee, right?
Correct.
Is that what it was? All right. He had sued Tyler. Was he suing or being sued?
No, actually, I believe that the story said that Tyler Perry had sued the gentleman.
Him?
Yes.
Okay.
That he had sued him, and I'm not exactly sure what the issue was in regards to that. However, what it sounds like when you talk about the story is simply that the young man really admired Mr. Perry and all of the things that he has done. And that he
wanted to speak with him.
And that he really just wanted to speak with him. And, being a corporate girl, I'm a corporate girl, and so I get it. Okay, there are some times when you're working hard for a particular organization
and you just want to talk to the boss.
Your 2 cents, and you really are giving your lifeblood and sweat to this particular opportunity. And sometimes you just want to say, hey, man, good job. So I think that was his initial intent.
But
however,
what made it scary was
yes, sir,
is that he made his way past security. He kind of broke in an office or somehow.
That's correct.
He climbed up through the ceiling,
the drop ceiling,
and he got caught between the wall or the drop ceiling, and he's stuck. And now he's saying that, hey, I just want to speak with Mr. Perry.
Well, what was interesting about him is, first of all, this is one agile brother. First of all, he really wanted to meet Mr. Tyler Perry. And keep in mind, at Tyler Perry Studios, that is his name. He is not Yo Bro, or
correct.
He is not Hey Tyler. He is Mr. Perry.
Mr. Perry.
Here on this show, we are going to refer to him as Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry, he wanted to meet him so bad. But what was interesting, it sounds like he got stuck between the joist of the wall. But what I found incredibly interesting, because this is like the second time in the last few months that we've heard these, like these pseudo attempts to get next to, someone of power and how much they go through in order to make it happen. So, I mean, this man really kind of went to the next level. So when the security came to investigate this man who pushed past the security guard, sound like that pushed past the White House gate thing. When he pushed past the security guard, they couldn't find him. And the reason why they couldn't find him, because he done managed to scale a wall, climb through the drop ceiling, drop down, and now he's stuck. But they couldn't find him for a while. It wasn't until he started moving on the inside of the wall, Pastor Rich, the inside of the wall, that they were able to figure out where he was at. Even after that, once they got him out, he had left a very scary message for Mr. Perry on the wall. It was like his headshot, like, hey, I want to talk to you. I mean,
Hi, my name is Tanisha Simpkins. I want to invite you to tune in to the Table Talk Radio Show, where we'll be having candid conversations about politics, education, fashion, reality shows, what's trending, and more. I want to hear what you have to say. No subjects are off limits. Grab your coffee and tea and let's talk. I'm your host, Tanisha Simpkins.